Hey, Wolfpack, how's it going? Happy Wednesday. Excuse me, I have tea. I don't know if I got allergies or what, but thankfully I'm in my studio by myself, so you can't catch a thing. Welcome to, let's see, cloudy, windy, and nasty Southwest Michigan. How one day can go from like 60 to whatever it is out there now, which is why that's when I always catch a cold or something like that. So excuse me. Hopefully I won't be sneezing in your face. So welcome everyone. Say hi, say where you're from. Today starts the Rachel Twin-Set SewAlong. I'm so excited about that. So I have some fabric laid out and check this out. This is a Rachel Twin-Set I made forever ago. So you don't have to pick matching fabrics. You guys remember when I made this top, it's the ruche tee actually. And I had this sweater hanging in the closet right next to it. It matches perfect. So today is part one for the sew-along. So we are going to, I'm going to take a look at the fabric, tell you what sizes to pick out, give you some ideas for that, but also I'm going to make a few pattern hacks so you can follow along on those. A couple things, I'm just making sure you all are, yay, you all can hear me then, because I know you would tell me if you couldn't. So a few things. I have a whole nother batch. I had no idea that you all didn't have the Rachel Twin-Set. So I have another batch. It should be here this afternoon, and all of those will ship out. So you will not miss a thing if your package did not ship before today. So don't worry. Today what we're doing is going over the pattern, what fabric to get, altering your pattern, and then if you have time before next week, cut it out. If you don't have time, even if you cut it out next Wednesday, you're going to be fine. You won't miss a thing. I have this laid out in 4 weeks. So you got 4 weeks to finish your top. Although I saw some of you already posting yours. So I don't know if those were made before or later. So how are all of you, by the way? Great to see you. I'm trying to think if I have any good stories for you this week. Oh, yeah. So we were at the cottage, and which is in Manistee. It's like between Manistee and Ludington. And Wynn had bought this new bird feeder. Well, do you remember what happened to our deer feeder a few years back when you were allowed to feed deer? Yeah, well, the trail cam picked up a huge black bear that climbed up the tree and ripped down the entire deer feeder. So I'm thinking, okay, so he got a bird feeder. It's a really cool one too. It's kind of big, but I'm thinking, this is not going to last. It's spring. You know that that bear is going to come out with its babies and all that food's going to be gone. And so is everything that's holding that together. So we get to the cottage and Wynn's like, I wonder where the bird feeder went. And we didn't have a trail cam on it. I do now. So we set it back up. So I'll let you know next week if I find anything. But sure enough, that feeder was ripped down the hill. Now, it was windy. So we have a side bet. Wynn says that it twisted off and blew away. And I'm thinking, I highly doubt it. I have a big sneaking hunch that it's our big black bear that's back. And I don't know if any of you remember the first time we saw this bear. Well, I think it's the same bear. Who knows? There could be more than one. We were coming back down the trail after going to church one Sunday morning. And there's this on the way back to the cottage. No, this is in the back, like maybe 2 miles off of a main road. So we're out in the middle of nowhere. So it's not like it's in your next door neighborhood. And we looked down and I saw something orange down there. And I said to Wynn, gosh, it's so weird. People will be out jogging this morning. The weather wasn't that great. And then we stopped and we backed up. The orange was like a telephone sign way down. Like we're talking like a half mile away. And next to the orange sign was a very tall friend, I thought. It was a huge black bear standing on his back legs. So that is our experience with our bear. We've not named this guy yet, but we should. And it could be a girl because I've seen other babies. So that's your story of the week. Nothing exciting. So back to sewing. So before I get rolling on that, some of you had asked a few questions. And also, Karina, I just read your message. Be careful. My sister just got timed out from from Facebook. I'll tell you what she said later in the Fashion Sewing Club. So before I take you over to the pattern, I won't be able to see all of your questions from there because that's way over there. I'm taking you way over here. A new spot for you. There's the pattern. There's some fabrics I'm going to be talking about. So if I miss your questions, be sure to ask them at the end, okay? Because I always love to hear from them. And some of you asked about the Angela Wolf Passion or the Angela Wolf Patterns Facebook group. So yes, that one's totally free. So there's the Fashion Sewing Club and there's the Angela Wolf Patterns. And we would love to have you be in there. It's free and you can share along as you're doing the Rachel Twin-Set. Sound good? And then the last little bit of news for the week. The cover stitch class is on, I'll share my page here, Friday. Now, those of you that have been following along with the mini courses, we've had Embroidery 101, 102 is coming up in a couple weeks with Cindy. And then Serger 101, 102, and we are at 103. So 103 only has to do with the cover stitch machine though, because I know not all of you have that machine. So I wanted to make sure, let me just make sure I've got the right window open here, unless you want to check all my emails. Here you go. So if you go to angelawolf.com, very easy to do. I've tried to make this super easy for you guys to find everything, but that doesn't mean I always keep up on that. So there's, nope, that's not it. Hold on one sec. You could tell I had a live show this weekend. I missed my own stuff. Okay, yeah, that was Emily's, in case you were wondering. There's me. Okay, so go to angelawolf.com, and when you go there at the very top page, click on classes and events. Really easy to do. There's if you want to join the Fashion Sewing Club, or if you're a member, that's how you can log in there. So here is Serger 103. I called it Serger / cover stitch because it's really only about the cover stitch machine. So if you have a cover stitch machine and you've been dying to learn how to use it, that's what the entire class is about. So I will even share this little bag here I have here. Take this down for a second. Some of you might have taken a class with me with this when I used to do this with the twin needle. So this was all done with the cover stitch machine. Isn't it cute? And then the inside was done with the cover stitch. I have another little bag too, because after we get through all the tutorials, then the mini courses are going to include projects, and they could be bags, they could be a garment. You just never know what I got up my sleeve. So that is for cover stitch. And then also, if you missed last week's class, there's the 102 creative serging. You can still join any of these. You can watch them live or the replays. And then here you go. Here's the link to when Cindy and she has the cutest little towel she made and put her recipe on it. It's adorable. But we're going to be talking, she's going to teach how to embroider. And we're both going to give our own tips because we both do things a little bit differently sometimes, which is so much fun when we can compare how to embroider itsy bitsy letters. So that's the link right there. There's a little copy of the towel that she made. And there's also, you'll see a few more of that here. And then here's some older classes. But don't forget, those of you that like the live shows, if you scroll down here, here's all the live shows. And I think I have the schedule up for the entire month of March. Yes, I have all the way through April 3rd. How do you like that? So that's the schedule. Any questions on that before we start sewing the Rachel? Oh, I know, Susan. Hey, Susan, your sewing room is looking beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I do have to say a cute one. So Susan, well, a lot of you remember when I used to travel all the time. Do you realize, oh my gosh, we should be, I don't know if it should be a celebration or if it should be like, well, we'll call it a celebration. This weekend, maybe that's why I caught a cold. This last weekend was the 1-year anniversary of when Wynn and I were supposed to leave for Florida. I just got back from Seattle. Both of us got sick. I don't know, have any idea what we had. So I opted to not go to Florida because at that time, COVID was just being announced. Like, what is going on here? I'd already been quarantined for a week, 2 weeks, because I came back from Seattle with a bit of a cold or whatever. I had the funk there. It's always this time of the year, though. I think it's the weather. But anyways, you guys realize this is a 1-year anniversary starting, I believe next week is when we started doing the daily live shows. Wow. No wonder I like hanging out with you so much. It's been a whole year of it and a whole year with 0 trips. Now, do I plan on traveling again? Possibly, but in a very, very, very small basis. I have absolutely loved being home. Maybe not tied to the house, but I've loved being home. And I love being in my studio. I've caught up so much on work and doing some fun, creative things that I never had time for before when I was traveling. So The cute thing was Wynn used to always leave a couple roses for me when I would get home. There might be 2. That means I was going to be home for 2 days before the next trip. You know, I have a packing room, which now is kind of turned into, I don't know, extra clothing. It's not really a packing room. I haven't gone anywhere. But some days I'd get 5 roses, some days 7. So, Susan, thank you for the reminder. I told Wynn 365 roses is coming down the pike. So I love that. And he gave you a big hug for that too. He thought that was cute. All right, so are you ready to go check out the pattern? Hey, Don. So Karina, I don't have 365 roses. Instead, he said he would just do a dozen a week. And you know what I've been doing is I've actually been picking them up because I've been stopping at the grocery store now. I know, just something to do. And I found one right around the corner, and they're really inexpensive, and they last about a week. And so I keep trying to beat him. So if we have 2 dozen, I bring one to the office and leave one at home. I love roses. They just smell good. They just smell so good. Hey, Lise, I love that. You've got a big room for us to come and visit. Wonderful. All right, so let's go sew. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, Angie, you are so right on that. It has changed so much. In fact, and Kelly, I agree. But, you know, does it have to go back to the way it was before? I think so many of us have learned so much this year. Well, some good, some not so good. But at the same time, you were kind of forced to slow life down. Some people. Now, all of you that are working nonstop during this whole thing, I really feel for you. I mean, I've been working too, but I'm just in my studio. I'm not in the hospitals. I'm not in those types of jobs. So that has to be challenging as well. But I think everybody, no matter where you have been during this whole thing, it's just been so, you always have to look at the bright side. So there's got to be something positive somewhere. I don't know what it is for you. Mine has been being able to stay home, actually forcing me to stay home. Because if you told me I had to stay home, I would never do it. I would always say, oh, but I would love to go to that event and see all my friends. Now I couldn't. So in the meantime, I have loved hanging out with you. And I can never thank you enough for showing up for all these live shows. Because if you didn't, then nobody would be watching. And why would I be doing it, right? And thank you for also watching the Brother Sews shows. Because those have been wonderful. I was so glad they let us take over their page. So now, speaking of sewing, let's go take a look at this Rachel. All right? Okay. So I'm going to take my tea with me too. And I can see the screen. So you guys just text me if anything weird goes. You should be able to hear me and see me. Yeah? Okay. The Rachel. Let me grab this. I've got a measuring tape here. And I'm going to bring this camera up just a little bit so you don't cut off my head. There you go. See all that beautiful fabric I just got in? Woo. I've been cutting and sewing. Actually, that's the best part, is I can cut and sew and I don't have to go anywhere. All right, so I have this top right here. Here is one of the Rachels that I made a few years back. You can see how cute this is. Lettuce edge around the edges. So the idea, the seam, there's a seam along the lower back right here. This one I actually put some gathers in. So you can pattern hack this yourself. Then there's a band that goes all the way around the neckline like this. And the band goes all the way to the front. This is the part that gets a little confusing when you're sewing. So what I have here is, here's one with stripes. And we're going to be sewing the tank and the top. Now, this is not the Rachel. This is the ruche tee. But here's another one that has, should I put it on with this? Somebody might join the show and be like, what is she wearing? That is so weird. Definitely does not match. So this one, I added ruching to the sleeve, which you can too. And on this one, I actually added an outside seam to the sleeve because I thought that would be really fun. See what the fun I did with matching up the stripes? And then I added ruching to the outside. I absolutely forgot I even had this top until I went digging for stuff for the Serger class last week. So now you can see a little bit better. Here's the binding that goes around the neckline. This is the piece that goes around the front. And that's why it hangs like this, right? Okay, now I'm going to give you a couple tips for choosing pattern size, and also maybe you want to change the pattern. So you can see here where I played with stripes. And then there's a bottom piece. This bottom piece is a one piece of the pattern. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attach this piece to this piece and make one pattern piece out of it instead of having two to sew together. All right? So let's take a look at the pattern. Let me grab my Sharpie so you can see this. Here you go. And all right, I have to confess, I actually almost pulled out the wrong pattern today because I'm working on the Delilah with the Fashion Sewing Club after this one. So many fun tops to make for the spring. So this pattern I just took off the plotter, fresh off the plotter, which is why it's not folded like yours will be when you get it in the mail. But you have the tank tops, the front and back, regardless if you're plus size or Mrs. size, it doesn't matter. These go all the way up to size 5X. Check out these sizes right here. So I know they might be a little hard to see, but on your pattern, this is the front. There's a section here. Section here, and those of you that have sewn with me for a while, this is kind of like a Groundhog Day moment, but just a reminder to everyone, these are the exact measurements of the pattern. Exact. Meaning that there's no ease added. That's the exact measurement. So these measurements are going to be different than the general measurements that are on the outside of the pattern cover. Okay? So for example, for a tank top, do you want the tank top to be fitted? I just have to switch. This isn't very close to me, so I'll get my exercise here. Do you want the tank top to be fitted, or do you want the tank top to be loose? That's where you look at the measurements. The exact measurement, a lot of times when you're sewing with a knit, for example, I just washed this one, so I'm all ready to cut it out. Isn't this beautiful? This is a rayon knit. Some of you already purchased this, and this just came in. This color, this one I think is going to be beautiful. How about this color? They're all attached. This color, I think for spring is going to be gorgeous. This is a coral. This is a rayon as well, which means it's really soft, easy to take care of. And then there's one more rayon. How do you like this color? They make these things so heavy. This. I was actually thinking of maybe piecing together a couple of these. The yellow with the coral would look good. The yellow with the green would look good. So I kind of set these out so I could decide which ones I wanted to piece together. Because the tank top, I might do a fun color blocking. I'm cutting that one last. But back to what size you're going to choose. First of all, if you want the top to be fitted, remember that knits have negative ease. So if you want it fitted, like the top I'm wearing, maybe you want the exact measurement of what the pattern is, but it also depends on how much your fabric stretches. So this one here stretches, the selvages, here we go. Grab your knit, stretch it, and make sure it goes back into shape. That's what we call recovery. If not, you're going to be a stretched out mess by lunchtime, or depending on when you put your shirt on. So this here has a beautiful drape, so it's going to make a great sweater. Maybe I want the tank top to be a different color, or maybe add a color blocking. This with some yellow would be beautiful. This with black would be good. Any of those things. But for the tank, if you decide you want it to be fitted, what I usually recommend is cutting out the size, maybe your exact measurements, and then you can always take it down a little bit, baste it together, especially if it's the first time you've made my pattern, because I don't want it to be too tight on you. You can never let it out. There aren't big enough seam allowances for that. All right, so back here. Decide what measurements you need here. And let's just say I'm going to cut a size medium in the bust area. Okay, so that would be right here. And then maybe you're going to cut something smaller for the waist area. use these lines here as a guide. These are your grading lines. So I don't want to mess this up too bad because I'm going to use this one. But let's just say you wanted to go in here. You can just take this in like that. And then maybe you need to go out further for the hips. Just mark where your size is and go out to your hip. Now, there are technical ways to do this, but that is one of the easiest ways. And then you just want to make sure whatever this length is, you either do the same thing to the back, so these will both line up, or if you're just larger in the front or you're just larger in the back, when you're all finished with your alteration, what you might want to do, if you're totally different than the front and the back and you're just altering one or the other, then you'll want to get into more advanced alterations where you're slashing up the pattern and moving things around like that. So I'm just going to cut this for a second because one of the most common alterations is what? Can you guess? I'm sure you can. I can't see what you're writing because I'm way over here, but I can guarantee you that many of you got it. Yes, a full bust adjustment. Now I'm just going to cut down because I want to also show you if you have to make a petite adjustment or if you want to make this longer. So these are my really icky paper scissors. Sorry, Mom, I don't know what I did with all the pretty colored ones you bought for my classes coming up. They're probably downstairs in the class kit piles. All right. So here's the tank. If you need a full bust adjustment, there's not anything here for a dart. Nothing. Also, this section here tells you where your waist is. So if you measure on yourself and your waist is actually lower or higher, this is where you would do that alteration. So let's just say you're a little bit longer waisted than this pattern. What I would do is I would cut right through the center like that and lengthen this as much as you need. There you go. Or maybe you need longer. But by doing that, then you would put a piece of paper under here and just true these lines, meaning just blend these lines together. The center front will always be a straight line here. Ignore my messy cutting, okay? That's how you would lengthen if you had a longer waist. If you have a shorter waist, instead of cutting that, you would fold this up, or you could even cut it and slide it up, whichever one you prefer. And then blend these lines. Just make sure there's not a sharp point at your waist. Now, let's just say that your waist measures exactly that, what's on the pattern. And let me grab, I just lost my measuring tape. Here she goes. Let's just say you measure from the center back. I usually measure from my center back down. That's the easiest way. You can also measure from here down right at your neck, whichever is easiest. But let's just say you measure that and it matches the pattern. But you say, wait a minute, when I measure from here to my hem where I want the top is too short. That's when you can extend the bottom part, okay? So if everything in the middle where your waist is matches and you just need to lengthen the hem, then you can cut it off at the bottom and just lengthen it that way. Does that make sense? So maybe you want to add ruching to the tank. Usually I add 4 inches if I'm going to add ruching to the top or to the sleeves, whichever one you're going to add ruching to. Make sense? Okay, what about the jacket now? So the jacket, now that I've cut up my piece, and Fashion Sewing Club, I know that we had I didn't mean to say I was just thinking, we actually did have maybe 2 or 3 sessions on doing a full bust adjustment. So if you need that, go back in there and see that. It's very easy to do. All right, so what about the jacket? Okay, I'm gonna just hold this. This is the best thing ever. Susan, Steve, you little geniuses on that. And then I also have Barbara's pattern waist, which are little washers that she wrapped in ribbon. Super, super cute. And then I got these from Joe. So between both of these, this pattern should stay up. Okay, and let's see, what else do we need here? An old rotary cutter. I always use an old rotary cutter when I'm cutting paper. I save one just for that purpose. Okay. Actually, I just popped over and I see just a couple of your questions. Kelly, she said she can't find rayon anywhere. You know, fabric in itself, if any of you have been watching me try to get denim and silk and things like that, oh my word. What I used to be able to order and be here in like a few days, not so much anymore. I do have a new batch of lace coming though. It'll be here maybe during our live show, but I think it's scheduled for tomorrow morning. Okay. And viscose, it's sometimes called viscose or rayon for those of you that don't know that. Yep, you guys got it. The full bust adjustment. I knew you would. Oh, Jennifer, that was close though. Arms, yeah. But it's actually full bust adjustment is probably the most. Oh, hey, Elaine from New Zealand. Okay, so I'm just scanning to make sure you didn't have any questions on that before I move on. Dolly, is the tank top going to be sewn into the jacket? No, Dolly, you could if you wanted to, but it's not. The tank is separate, which is why you can use any fabric if you want. And sometimes I just make the Rachel jackets and tie it with some of the tops I already have because it's a great sweater set. Cindy, on the ruche tee that you're wearing, did you raise the scoop front neckline? Oh, no, I did not raise this. This is the ruche tee, but I did the twisted neckline, which makes it a little higher. I'm double checking. I always grab the same pattern, so I'm almost 100% sure I didn't raise it. This is almost, though, as high as the lacy, isn't it? No, but this is the medium neckline for the ruched, and it's the twisted collar, which I loved doing that with the little pattern there. Oh, Angie, I did. I have 2 bolts of black lace coming in. They're all on the website, too. 2 bolts of black. Oh, red is back in. So I have 2 bolts of red coming. 2 bolts of wine, I think I ordered if they had it. It's a new color. They don't have any more teal, so Debbie Schimmel gets first dibs on those. I think I only have just enough that she needed left. And then silver's coming back in. Terry. All right, so am I missing anything? I love that, Samantha. I wish I needed a full bust adjustment. You guys are all the same. Okay, so we'll go with other adjustments too that we need. How do you know what colors are good for your skin tone? Hey, Kelly, that's a good question. So you know how you can tell? You hold it up to your face. Like you stand in front of a mirror. Usually I won't wear any makeup when I'm trying to check colors. And you take the fabric and you wrap it around your face. And if your cheeks become rosy, you're golden. If your face washes out like you just got a case of COVID, not kidding, by the way, it's not your color. So if it washes you out, it's not your color. Hold it up, you get rosy cheeks, you're all good. That is the easiest, fastest way to know what your color is. Now, I have a few colors that I love to wear that are not my colors. So what I do is I will try to keep that color a little bit away from my face, maybe down on my tank top, and then have the color that looks good on me on my jacket. Just an idea. All right, am I missing anything too? I think we're good. Okay, let's go back and take a look at the jacket because I want to show you how to lengthen the jacket because if it's too short, if it hits you too short, you might not like it. So let's go back over here, and I think you guys can see that. Okay, once I grab my Sharpie, you'll be fine. Okay. So this is, let's see, I'm going to be cutting, I'm probably going to cut the medium. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut my size. Quite often I'll cut the sweater for this one. Oh, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm cutting this all the way down. I'm leaving this extra paper on here. And you'll see why here in just a minute. And I'm actually just going to cut this up a little bit. Let's purple, my color for a medium. And the tank top I'll probably cut as small, just to give you an idea. All right, so this is the bottom section of the jacket. So look at what I did. I just extended this line out. I'm not finished with that, but that gave me some extra paper here because I know I want my jacket longer. I like it to cover up my tush so I can wear leggings. I'm not going to cover my tush when I'm wearing leggings. It's just how I want this sweater to be. All right, so what else do we have here? This is the back piece. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece. And I'm just going to go around. Purple, Ange, purple. All right, this piece here is the side front piece. You're going to need that too if you decide to lengthen any of these. So here is, I'll just use the rotary cutter. When you make changes to one piece on this pattern, it affects other pieces on the pattern, which is what I want to point out. So here's the back piece. See how I cut and just left this little extra at the bottom? I didn't measure that. I'm just leaving it on there. It's easier than attaching it later, right? Okay, and some of these I don't need. How about, I just want to make sure I don't cut this here. So this is what you're going to do before next week, all right? Your job is going to be to decide what size you're going to cut, make any adjustments you have to make, and I'll show you a few more adjustments here too, and then cut out your size. I'm making this a little bit longer, but I'm not measuring. I'm just using whatever paper I have on there. Okay, so this is the front jacket lower panel, which we need. That will be adjusted. And what about here's the jacket collar. Now this piece we're going to need to do something with, but I'm going to leave it just uncut for now. This is the center back of your neckline. That's your shoulder. And then it goes all the way down here. So whatever I add to the length, which you'll see, you're going to need to adjust this too. So if you're writing this down, you need your collar piece. If you're going to adjust the length of your jacket is what I'm talking about, okay? You're going to need the collar. You're going to need the front piece, which is piece number 1. So I'll list all these out for you, okay? If you need to do a full bust adjustment on the jacket, you can, but remember the jacket hangs open anyways, and you've got that full collar there. So you might not have to unless you have like a really big difference on the bust. All right, so I'm just going to move this to the side for now. So these are the pieces I have. Piece number 1, this is the jacket front. Piece number 5, the jacket collar. Piece number 3, the jacket lower front. Piece number 4, the jacket back lower panel. And I don't need the sleeves or the bindings or anything like that right now, so I'm going to get that out of the way. And I have the jacket on the back. Okay, so I just looked up and I thought, you know what? Tell me that I haven't been on the right camera the whole time. That would take the cake, right? I have. We're good. All right, so here's the back piece. And then here, this is the back lower panel. That's not cut on the fold, but you could cut it on the fold. There's a notch right here. So if I fold this in half right on that, this is literally the same length on both sides. Unless you did something crazy to your pattern, okay? So I'm just gonna fold that for now. See, I'll put it right here. Let's see, what can you see the easiest? Probably like that, okay? So it's on the fold. Here's the back piece that's on the fold. Now, when I measure myself, I'm gonna measure my back neck to where my waist goes. Or maybe you want this under your bust a little bit higher. So let me just go back and show you this jacket one more time, just so you can get an idea of what you're changing, all right? So if you have this jacket, and I'll put this one on because this one has stripes, but you know, these don't exactly match. This would be, I don't know, maybe I should just wear this out one day and see how many looks I get. All right. So I added 4 inches to the sleeves on this pattern. I also added an outside sleeve edge, which, by the way, for you girls, Jennifer, did you say you needed to alter a sleeve? If you need to alter it smaller or larger, it doesn't matter. But if you have an outside seam, it makes it really easy to alter the fit on your bicep or even down here. Okay, so this is the collar piece. So connect that. That is pattern number 5, I think. Yeah. And then the back. So on the back, can you see here? This is where that seam goes. It's a little higher, but look at how long I made this jacket. I made this a lot longer. So you need to decide how high you want this seam. Is it more like an empire on you, or is it lower? It was meant to be like not at your waist. It was meant to be higher than your waist. But as I've made this pattern probably, I don't know, at least 30 times, I have found it depends on my fabric where I want that line to go. If it's this high on me, I decide to make this part longer because I like this to hang lower. Does that make sense? So you have 2 choices. You want to extend this so it goes down a little bit so it hits you at your waist. Sometimes that's a very long slimming style. If this was a little lower, it just depends how your stripes are laying. Or do you want to just make this part longer? So you need to measure this on your body. So how are you going to do that? Measure from your back neck to where you want this seam to go. I want the seam to go just about to my waist. So for me, about 17 inches. I'll just write this down and then I'll bring the camera down, okay? So 17. And then how long do you want this bottom panel from where that seam is? So if I have this to here, I want my hem to go just below my tush. How am I going to get this off? I'm at 32 and 17. So 32 minus 17. What is that, 14? Okay. Bring the camera back down and you can see what I just changed here. I'm doing this for a couple reasons. Not because I don't like where the original pattern is, but I think this will help you get a really good fit on this jacket so it fits you where you want it to go. So if I want 17 inches from here, all right, make sure you can see this. 17 inches. Wow, it's right where my paper ends. Now remember, seam allowances are already added to the pattern, so you don't necessarily have to add a seam allowance. So this is going to be, you just line this up. That's basically right where that paper ends. And it looks like this is about the same all the way across. It's not curved or anything like that. So when I do this, you're going to need to measure how much you just added down here. I've added just under 2 inches. Actually, it's pretty much 2 inches. It's just a little crooked. So let's just say, just for sake of pretending it's not crooked, that we've added 2 inches. Now, don't worry. You can go back and watch this video. It's on YouTube, Facebook, and it'll be on the blog this afternoon. Thanks to Jennifer, because she's awesome about this. Well, it might be tomorrow, not this afternoon. But you'll be able to go back and watch this over and over. So don't worry about these numbers if you just want to watch and then go do it on your own pattern. So I've added 2 inches, though. Do you notice that I added that to the green? I'm purple. So remember that when you're adding your hem. If you're using this bottom line as your guide and you're going the lengthwise, I probably technically should have measured from the purple, but I'm going to put a little note here that I've measured from the green down. Okay. Now, so that's going to be my back piece. So if I do that to the back, what else do I have to do that to? Don't worry, this part is not brain science. You got it. I need to add that to the lower front. So I'm going to get some paper. I'm not going to do this with you live right now, but I know that from here down, I need to add 2 inches. So I'll double check. You can see I only have about 1.5 inches there. So I'll add a piece of paper down here to make sure that this is also 2 inches, because the side front and the side back need to be able to sew. You have to sew these together, remember? So once you sew them together, they need to match on the sides. So whatever you did to the back, you need to do to the front. Okay, at that point, we don't have to do anything to the collar yet, but you will, because the collar, remember the collar starts back here. Pretend that this is the front and the back. Your collar starts here and goes down. So I already know I'm going to have to add 2 inches to the collar. So why don't, before I even forget anything, let me put a note here that we started with the green, which is way down here. And right now I need to add 2 inches. And we're going to say that is for the hem, the top hem. Okay, so this is piece number 5. I'm starting at the green because that's what I use down here as a guide for my hem. And I need to add 2 inches to that. Now, by the way, if you do this top like this, and then you start to sew it together, you can sew these two together, just baste them together and check where this line is coming. If it ends up being too long, then shorten it. And then mark your pattern so you remember that for later. So let's just say you're trying to measure yourself and this, you try this on, and this goes way below your waist, and you really wanted this at your waist. And you try it on, and you're 1 inch off. Well, basically just cut off 1 inch and cut off 1 inch. And then take 1 inch off of that collar. That's all you have to do for this section, okay? Now, what about the back? Now, what I did on the top that I'm wearing now, it's actually longer in the center front, the center back here than it is on the sides. So this is going to sew together like this. Now, what if we were just to attach these 2 pieces and don't have a seam there at all? That's actually what I'm going to do. So if this needed 2 inches in the back, you can see that this is curved a little bit. So I would have to attach this right at the side. I'm using my grid as a guide here. You have a choice. You can just pull this up to here and attach. Just remember that this part needs to match your side seam, which is why I said keep it separate. If you slide that down a little bit, that's a little better. All right, I'm just going to hold this together like this for now. If I want the center back to be longer, I can just redraw this line however long I want to. So first of all, to determine that measurement, this is what you're going to do. Measure. Well, sometimes what I like to do is cut the front and the back first. Just try them on real quick so I can double check that length is right before I cut the other pieces, especially if you're limited on fabric, which I'm not. So I can cut it out, and if I don't like it, I can change it. But what you want to do is, now that you know what your measurements are, and you want to measure how long you want that bottom section, you need to maybe have a piece of elastic around your waist if that's where this top section stops at, and then take this and hold it down to where you want it. If it's going to be longer in the center back, mark that on the center back. If it's going to be shorter in the side, how do you know how short? Well, what I do is I'll measure, let's just say, well, I'll use this jacket as an example. And it has a side seam right here. So I would measure from here down to the hem, and that's how long I would know that that's how long the side seam would be. So you're measuring yourself as you go too. So I'll show you how to change that. All right. So let's just say, so pretend that these are taped together, even if they weren't. I'm just going to get this out of the way. If I tape these together, remember you would get rid of the seam allowances, but I could tape these together and cut this all as one piece, and then I don't have a seam in the back. I don't have a seam across my center back here, which I like that look as well. It depends if you're playing with stripes and stuff. So let's just take a look at this piece here. If I want 14 inches, which is what I have on here from the waist part, that's about right to the edge of the paper there, which is fine. So this is how you would change this, because you can't have a straight edge like that and connect. Let's say for the side, I wanted it to be, let me just check where this goes on me. Let's just say 12 inches. So that goes to about here. So I would draw a line here. And then you're going to either want to use your ruler like this, where you just keep sliding this over. Remember, it's going to be longer down here. Or you can just give yourself a guide. So if this is 12, this one here is 14. Right in the center here, maybe go about 14. Maybe here go about 13 and a half. And maybe here go 12 and a half. You just want to make sure that this is a nice curve. That's the main thing. All right. So I've extended it this far in the center back, which that will not affect anything. So I don't need to add anything to the center back if that's going to be where my hem is. For this section here, I've added from the green 1 inch. Okay. So now what piece do I need to alter for that? Well, we have our jacket lower front panel. Now when it's time to sew this part in, if you end up, you can see this is your grain line here. There's a notch here, meaning this is your side seam. I would say half of the people that have sewn this top with me live have actually sewn it like this to the side seam, and then this weird part to the front. So just put a big note on piece number 3. This is your side seam. And now, if these two are going to be sewn together, just butt these up to each other and you can compare. Right there. Do you want it to be the same all the way around? Well then, let's see, what do we have here? It looks like I'm adding about an inch. Well, inch and a quarter, about. And I know this part here is not going to be curved because I'm using a flat ruler, but you'll see what I'm going to do here in a second. It just gives me a guide, and then I can go back. You can see this here. And then when you go to cut this off, just even it out. All right, so that's the jacket front. So because I changed the lower part of the jacket back, let's go ahead and just trim that off. And when you're cutting, you can cut a lot straighter than you can the other way. And then I'll just make sure that that's even. Okay, so the back's a little bit lower. This is going to get sewn together. I could even bring this up shorter if I wanted to in the front, but for now I'm going to leave that. So what have we added to this section here? It should be about an inch because that's what we added over here. So 1 inch from here to here, where does this top part meet? I'm going to just bring my jacket because this part gets a little bit confusing. It actually will be attaching to your collar. All right, so that front panel, if you look closely, goes from right here to right here. That's it. This part is your collar. That's why I'm putting on the stripe one so you can see this. So where's your collar going? Your collar is actually attaching to the front width, not the length. So there's really nothing here. I'm just double checking. I'm not missing something. There's nothing else you have to change because your collar is just going to be going around the front edge, which you haven't changed at all. So if you lengthen the front, you have to lengthen the back of the jacket. So that's piece number 3 and piece number 4 match up. And you have your front and your back. Whatever you lengthen here, you need to add to the collar, which I've done here. And if you really want to be safe when you cut your collar, I usually give myself, if I have a little bit of extra room, I usually give myself a few extra inches just in case I measured wrong, just as safety. So that's how simple that is. Now, what about the fabrics? So I talked about rayon knit, which is what I have on now. This is actually athletic wear, which would be good for the tank. It would not be so good for the jacket. See how flowy this is? So you could use an ITY knit, a rayon knit, any of these would work here. What would not work is I just got this in, and I got the blue snakeskin in too, which you guys might have seen me wear last week. I have a piece on the floor. Whenever I have like an extra half a yard or a yard at the end of the bolt, it goes into my stash, and that's where I create extra garments. So this would be gorgeous as a jacket, but when that collar opens up, not so gorgeous. So if you decide to use a top like this, the drape would be beautiful, but you're going to have to double up that collar then. So looking at the front collar piece, like this, along this line here, right now this is cut on the fold. You might want to add just a center back seam, which is fine. I think it's cut on the fold. Maybe there's a center back seam. I can't remember. It's been a while. Follow the pattern, not me. So it looks like it doesn't say fold, so it must be a seam. So instead of it being this wide, you would double that. And that way you can fold that over, and then your collar would look more like this. That makes sense? So rayon knit, viscose knit. You could use a cotton knit, ITY knit. The top that I have over there, I'll bring since you can't see. This is one that I did on Fashion Sewing Club, which I know you guys are going to be so disappointed in me. I did not finish sewing it. My goal was to finish it before today, and it didn't happen. But this is an ITY knit. This would be a good one because both sides look almost exactly alike. Let's see, what else? You could use a Ponte knit for the jacket. It's just a little bit thicker, but there are different weights of Ponte knit. So that would work as well. You could use mesh for the sleeves. You could even use lace for the sleeves. We're talking about lace, by the way. You could use lace for the sleeves. You could actually use lace for the outside jacket. Wow, that would be gorgeous, wouldn't it? I never even thought about that. Maybe mix it up a little bit and add some lace. If this was the front collar, both sides of the lace looks pretty much the same. Hangs beautifully. You can tell that this side's a little shinier, but just there are some ideas for you. So I would love to know what fabric you plan on using because you'll have to share photos. It's so inspiring to see the different looks on here. All right, coming back over. So if you have questions, Amy, I just saw your comment. Yellow makes you look like you got the flu. You know what it is for me? There's a color that when I wear it, which I try not to wear it. I used to have a very expensive sweater set in it, and I just loved it. But Arnell, you're going to hate this, but it was a pale purple, which I love. But I look like death warmed over. Every time I wear this sweater set, people will be like, are you feeling okay? Do Do you feel okay? Good. Are you not feeling good today? So by the end of the day, I didn't feel good because everyone told me I didn't. Well, it washed me out so bad. So that's one color I definitely cannot wear. All right. Yes, I do have A4 if you have, the patterns come in size extra, extra small to 5X. And paper print, which comes like this with a booklet, nice color booklet, or PDF, which has a nice digital file. Sandra, I know you have that lace. A lace Rachel. I know, Susan, that's what I was thinking. Sandra's doing lace. Gertrude, it's both. But don't forget, there's coupon codes too. So Fashion Sewing Club, your coupon code's in the group. Does anybody remember? Oh, you know what? I think it expired. Let me make sure you guys have a coupon code if you're not in the Fashion Sewing Club. So I think it was good. It ended, I don't know, maybe today or something. I'll just log in and check that real quick while I'm checking your questions. Send it to Susan Fisher to dye it. Yeah, that's what I'm going to start doing, Susan, if I don't get my washer and dryer up. So this piece here was hand dyed. This was all white. And you can see I wanted like a spotty green. It ended up being too light for me. So I'm probably going to go and add a darker green to it, like maybe a hunter green or something like that. All right. If you forgot your coupon, just message me and I can refund that for you. But the coupon code, Fashion Sewing Club, you know you got your own. But here we have... Okay, this expired March 15th. What's the date today? Oh, you got 5 more days. Coupon code, capital letters, March 15, MARCH 15. Okay, do you remember that? March 15. That's on my website, by the way, not anybody else's. Okay. Yeah, Sharon, I must have read your mind. By the way, the top you made the other day is so cute in the Angela of Patterns group. Sandra, I'm going to take notes. Karina, I know you're going to hack this. It's going to be gorgeous. And now you're going to make a matching bag. I have a guess. I'm guessing. Oh, hey, Jenny. Oh, Melody, you know, it's funny you would say that because it really depends what you're wearing on the bottom. So you are shorter than me, yes. And because I like mine to be a little longer with leggings, I'm going to make mine longer. Now, because I was doing this live and I really wasn't measuring exact, I'm going to go back and double check my measurements. But I will definitely sew together the front and back first just to make sure it's not too low. Because if it's too low, then I look dumpy. There's a fine line of where that little seam should go. I have another one of these sweaters that's at home. I didn't wear it here because it's black, and black on camera doesn't always look great. But that thing's so long that I could probably wear it as a bathrobe. Just saying. Pat, the jacket you have on appears fitted at the lower bodice. It is fitted. So the front and back are more fitted. And you could put elastic there if you wanted to. I don't know if you would really need to, but what would you put the elastic there for, Pat? Just curious. Because it is more fitted here, and then it goes out in drapey. I'm reading all of your comments. Yeah, so Susan, another thing too, what she said is correct. It is, a lot of it is based on your height, but I'm shorter waisted. So quite often when I've made this top, I was just showing you how to change it, everyone here. But quite often this part might be fine on me. I just extend the other part. So my waist might be perfect on there for where I want it. But the hem, I know, my legs are like this long and my waist is like that long. There's a joke about that, but I'll save that for later. Definitely double check your subtraction before cutting. Melody, would it be okay to have the hem completely even all the way around? Yeah, absolutely. I think that's actually how the top is. So there's a Mrs. size extra, extra small to extra large, I think it is. And then the plus size, extra, extra large to 5X, I actually curved the back hem for you. It just, on all the people that I fitted, it was just a little more flattering. So the plus size already has that a little bit longer in the back. So don't forget, yours might look a little different than mine. All right, am I missing any? Oh, Connie, is the pattern based on a 5'5" height? No, I would say the pattern, now I got what Susan was saying. You're right. It's based on about a 5'6", 5'6.5" to be exact. So about a 5'6.5" is what it's based on, AKA my height. So I used to always claim to be 5'7", and I wasn't exactly being honest, but now I realize that if I don't be honest now, they're going to think I shrunk, but I really didn't shrink. So I'm really 5'6.5" without heels. Okay, make sure I'm not missing any more questions, because your homework for this week is to cut your pattern out, do your pattern hacks. If you go into the Angela Wolf Patterns group, and I will make sure I have a link here so you, in case some of you are not on there. Also, if you go to angelawolf.com, make sure you sign up for the newsletter, because I'll send a newsletter out reminding you of what your chores are for next week for if you're sewing along, and also a link to any of the new little mini courses. So in case you don't want to miss those. All right, I'll put a link here. Here we go. Right there for you. It's right in the comments. Hopefully I copied and pasted the right thing. Nope, not that. There we go. That's it. So it's Angela Wolf Patterns Group. The header looks like this. If you see it, it looks like that. That's Sewing Angela Wolf Patterns Group. Actually, while I'm in there, Sharon, I just can't resist. She made this top. Is this cute or what? This is the Shirley, which we did a pattern hack for that. Or we sewed that. When did we sew that, guys? Was it last spring? So cute, and I love the fabric. I think, yeah. Okay. Any other last minute questions, and then we're off to sewing. Melody, that half inch is so important. You guys are hilarious. Oh, Pat, yes. So if you wanted it, so now first off, Pat, you could put elastic in the back if you just wanted to keep that one seam. Now I understand what you're talking about. But if you're cutting the back, the upper back piece, the same measurements, and you're just attaching the bottom, which actually meets right here at the same spot and then goes out, it would be fitted. So it would already be fitted. It wouldn't be loose because you're already cutting that pattern the exact same way. But you could put a piece of elastic if you wanted to. That would be kind of cute too. All right, so I'm checking, or would you let the sides hang down? I must go back because there must be another question. Hey, Patricia. Glenda, I did not get your email. And I think my email box is just about empty. So I'll go back. I'll search your name and make sure I didn't miss something. I will definitely go look, Glenda. On my note. Great to see you too, by the way. Oh, here. I knew it was in here. Do you ever tie the jacket front together? All the time. In fact, if you've ever been to an event with me recently, like this one here, this one's all one piece in the back. There's no seam here. And it hangs a little bit looser, as you can see. I actually pattern hacked that a little bit. There's the band. So if I were to wear this and I were out and about, this is how I usually tie it. It's actually, it makes it shorter too. It's super cute, isn't it? Great idea, by the way. And yes, it's a very good fashion thing. Dolly, how much material do you get for an extra large size? Let me just check here for you. Right, these should be listed on the website. And if you ordered a paper pattern and you want the digital directions, you know what? I took it out of here. Let's see if it's in the booklet. An extra large, did you say? Yeah, for like an extra large, assuming your fabric is about 60 inches wide. Okay, so 60-inch wide for a tank and a jacket is about 4.5 yards. If you go into the plus sizes, it says on here 6 yards. That seems a bit much. I usually tell everyone 5 yards. So, but I mean, the math doesn't lie. So maybe I'll have to ask anyone who makes like a 3X or 4X. Tell me if you end up with a lot of extra fabric, because maybe I do make mistakes, by the way, very frequently. It just depends what day of the week it is. Never work on patterns on a Friday. Kelly, yes, I did hack that. So you can see there's a seam going down the center front of that. And I actually did ruching down the center front of that tank. Yeah, Josie, if you're signing up for the Fashion Sewing Club, don't order any patterns until you sign up. Or you can email me if you already did, and I can just refund you that. Do your Serger classes include any additional material that is not included in your Craftsy classes? Marcia, so far, they're very similar, but starting, the cover stitch will be different because I didn't really cover that in there. So that's this Friday. And then starting with Serger 104, they will be different because it's going to be projects. But Serger 101 and 102 are very similar if you already have the Craftsy class. And the only difference is that I'm doing it live, so I can help you walk through some troubleshooting things, but they're pretty similar. But starting with 103, no, not so much. It's based on a book I wrote. I wrote the book a couple years ago, and we decided not to publish it. It was kind of pretty much a mutual consent there. I was just too busy to do that at that moment. So I'm thinking, wow, I had so many great projects in there. Serging with Style, that was the name of the book. And now I'm turning it into mini courses. So that way, if there's a project you look at, you're like, I do not want to do that. Or you want to learn how to insert a zipper with the Serger and include it in a project. So I do, for those of you that want fun and easy projects that won't be included in these, I do have a Craftsy class. I can include it in the email this afternoon with the links. It's hard to find now, but that had a lot of bags, pillows, fun stuff like that, home deck. All right. Did the denim black and gray come in yet? Yeah, Bev, I got yours cut up and stored for the pants class for you. I think I forgot to return your phone call too, so I apologize for that. I just remember that when I saw your name. Can you get a jacket out of 1 yard? No, Colleen, you can't. Because you've got that collar, which is an extra, you got the front and the back, and you got the 2 lower panels. It takes a lot of fabric. You could do a tank, though, probably, out of 1 yard. You're right. I do always get you covered, so no worries on that. All right, you guys good? Did I miss anything? Oh, here's one. Oh, no, Glenda, I already answered that. Okay, good. All right, Fashion Sewing Club, 4 o'clock today, I believe. I already added all of you to it. Josie, if you end up joining the Fashion Sewing Club before 4, I'll try to watch for it, so make sure you don't miss the live session today. You always can watch the replays, but we are making a lace top. It's very cute. I missed this one. Hey, Babette. I don't think I shared this last week. She took the knits class, and she said that her collar's never been better. I got to tell you, your collar on that looks amazing. I love that top. So she's wearing the Delilah. So cute. And the fabric looks so cute with jeans. This is what I do on Mondays is check out your tops. Oh, Karen, look at that gorgeous color. Beautiful. That photo or that picture, not photo, but the painting or picture behind you is beautiful too. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, so I think it is right here. I'll bring it up for you. Then I'm gonna let you go, so I'm gonna go eat some tea, drink some tea before we have our next class. I think here it is. This is what we're making today. Thanks to Janice. Isn't this cute? So I actually, when I was cutting up all my lace, some of the lace was, every once in a while you get a piece of fabric that's damaged. So I always have to watch for that when I'm cutting your fabric. So there's a piece of denim that had a hole. There was lace, a couple pieces of white that had some little black on the edges. And I was going to throw it away, and I thought, no, I could use it because I could use white lace with some black knit, and it'll look like I put it there. Yeah, it's better than returning it, right? That's too much of a pain. Okay, you guys, have a wonderful day. It was so great to see you. I cannot wait to see what you're working on, so be sure to share photos if you get stuck while you're putting your pattern, getting it cut out. Next week, we will start sewing. So your job is to cut. I will give a few more tips next week for cutting, just in case you haven't started yet. But make sure if your fabric starts to roll, make sure that you cut off your salvages. It helps it to lay flatter. And be sure to use tailor's chalk or something to mark the wrong side, because some of these knits look the same on both sides. All right. Is the lace stretch? Hey, Gertrude, it is stretch, but it stretches in the length way. So like when you cut out your pieces, you're actually cutting them sideways instead of the way we normally do, because the stretch goes up and down and the scallops go along the salvages. So you're actually cutting your pattern differently. Okay, anything else? Whoever asked about a full bust adjustment, if you have gaping right here in your sleeve, yes, you need a full bust adjustment. That's what usually the problem is, if you have a gaping armhole. Oh, great to see you this week, Janet. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day. I'm going back to shipping. I've got quite a few more packages to go out. And if your Rachel did not ship, it should be here before the end of the day or first thing in the morning, and it'll go out right away. If you want the PDF version to get started, all you have to do is email me. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.